The Leviathan Medusa, discovery of the giant deep-sea jellyfish. November 3rd, 2024, 2:47 a.m. The Argentine research vessel Austral Explorer is conducting a deep-sea survey 200 miles off the coast of Patagonia when the sonar operator sees something impossible. Dr. Ruiz, you need to see this. Dr. Elena Ruiz, marine biologist and chief scientist on the expedition, crosses to the sonar station. She's been awake for 18 hours, running equipment checks, analyzing samples, managing the crew. She's exhausted. She almost tells the operator it can wait until morning. Then she sees the image on the screen. The sonar shows an object at 3,000 feet depth. Not a rock formation, not a whale, not a submarine. The signature is organic, soft tissue, not metal or stone, but the size is wrong. The object is approximately 12 meters across, roughly the size of a city bus. And it's moving, slowly, pulsing. Is the equipment malfunctioning? Ruiz asks. I've run diagnostics 3 times. Everything checks out. Whatever this is, it's real. Ruiz stares at the screen. In 20 years of deep-sea research, she's never seen anything like this. The largest known jellyfish, the lion's mane jellyfish, has a bell diameter of about 2 meters. This is 6 times larger. Deploy the ROV, she says. I want video. What they're about to discover will challenge everything marine biologists understand about the limits of biological size, the ecosystems of the deep ocean, and what might still be living in the least explored environment on Earth. This is the story of the Leviathan Medusa, the giant jellyfish that shouldn't exist but does, and the mystery of how something this massive could have remained undiscovered until now. The remotely operated vehicle descends through the dark water, its lights cutting through the black like knives. At 1,000 feet, the last traces of sunlight disappear. At 2,000 feet, the pressure is 60 times atmospheric pressure at sea level. At 3,000 feet, the ROV reaches the target depth. And there it is. The creature fills the camera frame, translucent, bioluminescent, massive beyond anything in the known record of jellyfish species. The bell, the dome-shaped body, is approximately 12 meters in diameter. Trailing beneath it are tentacles extending 30, maybe 40 meters into the depths. The creature pulses slowly, rhythmically, propelling itself through the water with movements that seem almost deliberate. Dr. Ruiz watches the video feed in stunned silence. The ROV circles the creature, capturing footage from every angle. The jellyfish doesn't react to the lights or the vehicle. It simply continues its slow, pulsing movement through the deep ocean. It's beautiful, someone whispers. It is beautiful. The creature's bell glows with soft blue-green bioluminescence, patterns of light that pulse in waves across its surface. The tentacles trail like silk ribbons, each one studded with what appear to be thousands of stinging cells. But it's also terrifying, because nothing this large should be able to exist. Marine biology has rules about the maximum size of organisms. The square-cube law dictates that, as an animal gets larger, its volume increases faster than its surface area. For jellyfish, which rely on diffusion to transport oxygen and nutrients through their bodies, there's a theoretical size limit beyond which they can't get enough oxygen to survive. This jellyfish is several times larger than that theoretical limit. It exists, it's alive, it's clearly healthy. And it shouldn't be possible. By dawn, the Austral Explorer has collected hours of footage. The ROV has taken tissue samples carefully from the edge of the bell, avoiding the tentacles. The crew has documented the creature's movements, its bioluminescent patterns, its apparent behavior. Dr. Ruiz begins the analysis immediately. The tissue samples are unlike anything in the existing database of jellyfish species. The cellular structure is similar to known jellyfish, mostly water, with a thin layer of epithelium and mesoglia. But there are differences. The cells are larger than normal jellyfish cells, and they contain unusual organelles, structures within the cells that don't match any known jellyfish anatomy. One structure appears to be a highly efficient oxygen processing system. It allows the cells to extract and use oxygen at rates far higher than normal jellyfish. This might explain how the creature can survive at such a large size. It solved the oxygen diffusion problem through cellular innovation. Another structure appears to be involved in bioluminescence production, but it's far more sophisticated than the simple photophores found in most bioluminescent creatures. This system seems capable of generating complex patterns of light, possibly for communication, possibly for hunting, possibly for purposes scientists can't yet understand. This isn't just a large jellyfish, Ruiz tells her team. This is a completely new species, possibly a new genus, maybe even a new family. The discovery is extraordinary enough on its own, but as the analysis continues, Ruiz realizes something even more significant. This creature represents an entirely unknown ecosystem. The tissue samples contain traces of prey. Analysis reveals fragments of deep-sea fish, squid, and crustaceans, species that live at depths of 2,400 feet. But the quantity is wrong. A creature this size would need enormous amounts of food. The prey fragments in the tissue samples aren't enough, not even close. Dr. Ruiz does the calculations. Based on the jellyfish's estimated mass and metabolic rate, it would need to consume approximately 500 kilograms of prey per day just to maintain basic functions. But the surrounding ocean at 3,000 feet depth doesn't have that much available prey. The deep ocean is a desert. Food is scarce. Most organisms are small and rare. So how is this creature surviving? The answer comes from a careful analysis of the jellyfish's gut contents. Among the prey fragments, Ruiz finds something unexpected: photosynthetic bacteria. Lots of them, living symbiotically inside the jellyfish's tissues. This is the key. The jellyfish isn't just a predator, it's also farming its own food. The bacteria in its tissues photosynthesize, using the creature's bioluminescence as a light source. The bacteria produce nutrients. The jellyfish absorbs those nutrients. It's a completely self-sustaining system. The jellyfish generates light. The bacteria use the light to make food. The jellyfish eats the bacteria. The process repeats. This is revolutionary. No known jellyfish has this kind of symbiotic relationship. Most jellyfish are pure predators, but this creature has evolved a hybrid strategy, part predator, part self-sustaining ecosystem. It's not just a giant jellyfish. It's a floating farm, a mobile biome, an entire ecosystem condensed into a single organism. The discovery is announced on November 10, 2024. The scientific community reacts with a mixture of excitement and skepticism. Excitement because this is the kind of discovery that happens maybe once in a generation. A completely new species of massive deep-sea creature with unique biological adaptations, representing an unknown ecosystem type. Skepticism because the claims seem too extraordinary. A jellyfish the size of a bus, with internal farming systems, that glows with complex patterns. Scientists demand proof. Dr. Ruiz provides it. Hours of video footage, tissue samples, cellular analysis, metabolic calculations. The evidence is overwhelming. The creature is real. The analysis is sound. This is a genuine discovery of something previously unknown to science. The species is formally named Gigantocyanea abyssalis *, the giant deep-sea jellyfish, but the media quickly adopts a more dramatic name, the Leviathan Medusa. The name fits. Like the mythological Medusa, the creature is both beautiful and dangerous. Like the biblical Leviathan, it's a massive creature from the deep that inspires awe and terror. And like both mythological beings, it raises questions about what else might be lurking in the unexplored depths. Within weeks of the announcement, other research teams report similar sightings. A Japanese survey vessel spots a massive jellyfish off the coast of Japan at 2,800 feet depth. Size: approximately 10 meters in diameter. A French research team finds another off Madagascar. Size: 13 meters. An American expedition locates one in the Mariana Trench at 4,500 feet, deeper than any previous sighting. Size: estimated at 15 meters, though partial visibility makes precise measurement difficult. The pattern is clear. These creatures exist worldwide. They inhabit the deep ocean at depths between 2,000 and 5,000 feet, the mesopelagic zone, also called the twilight zone of the ocean. This zone is one of the least explored environments on Earth. It's too deep for conventional diving, too shallow for most deep-sea submersibles. Most research focuses on surface waters or the true abyss. The twilight zone is overlooked. And apparently, it's full of giant jellyfish. Estimates based on sonar surveys and statistical modeling suggest there might be thousands of these creatures worldwide, possibly tens of thousands. An entire population of bus-sized jellyfish living in the ocean's twilight zone, undetected until now. How could something this large remain hidden for so long? The answer is simple: we weren't looking. Only 5% of the ocean has been explored with the kind of detail needed to spot these creatures. The deep ocean is vast, dark, and largely unmapped. Giant jellyfish at 3,000 feet depth in the middle of the ocean would be nearly impossible to find unless you were specifically searching for them. And until the Austral Explorer stumbled across one by chance, nobody was searching. As research continues, scientists discover more remarkable features of the Leviathan Medusa. The bioluminescent patterns aren't random. They're coordinated, pooling in complex sequences that suggest communication. Different individuals display different patterns, possibly individual identification, possibly mood or health status, possibly messages. Dr. Sarah Chen, a marine biologist at the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, analyzes patterns from multiple specimens. She discovers something extraordinary. The patterns are synchronized. Multiple jellyfish, separated by hundreds of miles, display the same pattern sequence within minutes of each other, as if they're coordinated, as if they're communicating across vast distances. This suggests a network, Dr. Chen writes in her preliminary report. Individual Leviathan Medusas may be part of a larger connected system, communicating through bioluminescent signals that travel through the water. The synchronization we're observing implies information sharing at a scale we've never seen in jellyfish. If true, this would mean the Leviathan Medusas aren't just individual creatures. They're nodes in a network, a distributed intelligence spread across the global ocean. This raises disturbing questions. What are they communicating? What information needs to be shared across such distances? And what is the purpose of maintaining this network? The tentacles present another mystery. Analysis of sting cells from the tentacles reveals venom far more potent than any known jellyfish. A single sting contains enough toxin to kill a large fish instantly. The tentacles, which can extend 40 meters or more, create a deadly perimeter around the creature. But the venom has unusual properties. It doesn't just kill, it preserves. Prey stung by the Leviathan Medusa doesn't decompose normally. The venom contains compounds that prevent bacterial decay, essentially mummifying the prey. This allows the jellyfish to store food. Prey caught in the tentacles is killed, preserved, and slowly absorbed over days or weeks. This is different from normal jellyfish feeding, where prey is consumed immediately. The storage system explains how the creature survives in the food-scarce deep ocean. It can catch prey opportunistically and store it for later consumption, smoothing out the irregular food supply of the deep sea. But there's something else. The preserved prey shows signs of being processed. The tissues are reorganized, partially dissolved, rearranged in ways that suggest deliberate manipulation rather than simple digestion. Dr. Marcus Webb, a biochemist studying the venom, makes a startling discovery. The venom doesn't just preserve prey, it converts prey tissue into a substrate the symbiotic bacteria can use. The jellyfish is essentially predigesting prey for its internal ecosystem, creating an optimal environment for the bacteria to thrive. This is agriculture at a cellular level, Webb writes. The Leviathan Medusa isn't just hosting bacteria, it's actively cultivating them, providing nutrients, managing their environment. This is one of the most sophisticated symbiotic relationships we've ever documented. 3 months after the initial discovery, the Austral Explorer returns to the original sighting location. Dr. Ruiz wants more data, more samples, more understanding of the creature's behavior. They find the same individual, identified by unique bioluminescent pattern markers, still in roughly the same area. Over the next 2 weeks, they track its movements. The jellyfish is migrating, not randomly drifting, but moving with apparent purpose. It travels approximately 5 kilometers per day, following a specific route along the continental shelf. The ROV follows. At certain points along the route, the jellyfish pauses. It extends its tentacles outward, creating a dome 60 meters in diameter. It remains in this position for 2–3 hours, then contracts and continues moving. It's feeding, Ruiz realizes. Those pauses are feeding stations. The jellyfish knows where prey is concentrated and visits those locations systematically. This is evidence of memory, spatial awareness, possibly even intelligence beyond what we expect from jellyfish, which are typically considered simple organisms responding to basic stimuli. Further observations reveal more sophisticated behavior. The jellyfish adjusts its bioluminescent patterns based on water conditions, brighter in clearer water, dimmer in turbid water. It changes its migration route to avoid areas with strong currents or temperature fluctuations. It seems to avoid interactions with other large predators, suggesting some form of threat assessment. None of this should be possible for a creature with no brain, no central nervous system, just a diffuse nerve net. But it's happening. The Leviathan Medusa is displaying behaviors that suggest far more cognitive capability than jellyfish are supposed to have. In February 2025, researchers make a disturbing discovery. A Leviathan Medusa off the coast of Chile is observed catching unusual prey. A small submersible robot deployed by a mining company surveying the seafloor. The jellyfish's tentacles entangle the robot. The sting cells fire, though they have no effect on metal and electronics. The jellyfish holds the robot for approximately 20 minutes, then releases it. When the robot is recovered, researchers find something odd. The jellyfish left marks on the robot's casing. Not random scratches, deliberate patterns. Geometric shapes arranged in sequences. Dr. Chen analyzes the patterns. They match the bioluminescent communication sequences observed between jellyfish. The creature was marking the robot with the same patterns it uses to communicate. It's possible, Chen suggests hesitantly, that the jellyfish was trying to communicate with what it perceived as another intelligent entity. It may have recognized the robot as artificial, non-living, but capable of receiving messages. This interpretation is controversial. Many scientists reject it as anthropomorphization, projecting human-like intelligence onto a simple organism. But the evidence is unsettling. The patterns are too deliberate to be random, and they're the same patterns the jellyfish used to communicate with each other. What was it trying to say? By mid-2025, the Leviathan Medusa has become a media sensation. Nature documentaries feature stunning footage of the giant creatures glowing in the deep ocean. Science magazines run cover stories. The creatures appear in video games, movies, merchandise. But beneath the public fascination, researchers are growing concerned. The jellyfish population appears to be increasing. Monthly surveys suggest the number of individuals has grown by approximately 15% since the initial discovery. New individuals are being spotted in areas where none existed before. This could be normal. Researchers are simply getting better at finding them, or individuals are migrating into surveyed areas. But some scientists worry it might indicate actual population growth. If the Leviathan Medusa population is growing rapidly, it would have significant ecological implications. These are apex predators in the deep ocean ecosystem. A boom in their population could devastate prey species, disrupting food chains throughout the mesopelagic zone. Dr. Ruiz leads a study to determine whether the population is actually growing, or if observation bias explains the increased sightings. The results, published in Nature in July 2025, are inconclusive but concerning. The data suggests real growth, but the error margins are large enough that it could still be observation bias. The study recommends continued monitoring and establishes baselines for future population assessment. But it can't answer the more fundamental question: why would the population be growing now? These creatures presumably existed for thousands, maybe millions of years in stable numbers. What changed that might drive population expansion? The answer might lie in climate change. The ocean is warming. Even at depths of 3,000 feet, temperatures have increased by approximately 0.5 degrees C over the past 30 years. That might not sound like much, but it's enough to affect metabolic rates, reproductive cycles, and ecosystem dynamics. Dr. Jennifer Ortiz, an oceanographer studying climate impacts on deep-sea ecosystems, proposes a troubling hypothesis. The Leviathan Medusas might be benefiting from ocean warming. Warmer water increases metabolic rates. For most deep-sea organisms, this is problematic. They need more food, but food availability isn't increasing. But for the Leviathan Medusa, with its internal farming system, higher metabolic rates might actually be beneficial. The symbiotic bacteria photosynthesize more efficiently at higher temperatures. They produce more nutrients. The jellyfish grows faster and reproduces more frequently. We might be seeing the beginning of a population boom driven by climate change, Ortiz writes. The Leviathan Medusa is one of the few deep-sea organisms positioned to benefit from warming oceans. While other species struggle with increased metabolic demands and unchanged food supply, these creatures can increase their internal food production to match. If true, this means the giant jellyfish population could continue expanding as oceans warm. They could become dominant predators in the mesopelagic zone, restructuring deep ocean ecosystems in ways we can't predict. In September 2025, researchers monitoring a Leviathan Medusa off the coast of New Zealand observed something unprecedented: reproduction. The jellyfish releases thousands of tiny medusae, miniature versions of itself, each about the size of a dinner plate. The baby jellyfish pulse away from the parent, dispersing into the surrounding water. This is the first direct observation of Leviathan Medusa reproduction. It confirms that these creatures reproduce similarly to other jellyfish, through Medusa stage offspring that grow over time. But the number of offspring is staggering. A single individual produces thousands in one spawning event. If even a small percentage survive to adulthood, the population growth could be exponential. Mathematical models based on observed reproductive rates suggest the Leviathan Medusa population could double every 18-24 months if conditions remain favorable. This projection alarms marine biologists. A doubling population of bus-sized predators every 2 years would fundamentally alter deep ocean ecosystems within a decade. Some scientists call for intervention, finding ways to control the population before it explodes. Others argue that we don't understand the ecosystem well enough to intervene safely. The Leviathan Medusas might serve crucial functions we haven't identified. Controlling their population could have unforeseen consequences. The debate is ongoing, complicated by the fact that these creatures live in international waters where no single nation has authority to act. In November 2025, 1 year after the initial discovery, the Austral Explorer returns to the original sighting location for an anniversary survey. They find not one Leviathan Medusa, but 7, all approximately the same size, all displaying synchronized bioluminescent patterns, all moving together in what appears to be coordinated migration. Dr. Ruiz watches from the ship as the ROV captures footage of this congregation. The 7 creatures move in formation, maintaining precise spacing, their lights pulsing in perfect synchronization. It's a pod, she realizes. They're not solitary creatures, they're social. This changes everything. Solitary predators have one set of ecological impacts. Social predators, cooperating in groups, have completely different impacts. They can hunt cooperatively, share information, defend territory collectively. As the ROV follows the pod, the jellyfish approach a school of deep-sea fish. What happens next is unlike any jellyfish feeding behavior ever documented. The 7 jellyfish spread out, forming a circle around the fish school. They coordinate their movements, tightening the circle, extending tentacles inward, creating a deadly net that the fish cannot escape. The fish panic, dart in random directions, hit tentacles, get stung, die. The jellyfish absorb their prey and continue moving, maintaining formation. They're hunting cooperatively, Ruiz says. This is pack behavior like wolves or orcas, but these are jellyfish. Jellyfish aren't supposed to do this. They're supposed to be simple, reactive organisms. They drift. They sting whatever touches their tentacles. They don't coordinate complex group hunting strategies. But the Leviathan Medusas do. They communicate. They cooperate. They hunt as a collective. This is intelligence beyond what anyone expected. And it raises a chilling question. If they can coordinate hunting, what else can they coordinate? The discovery of cooperative hunting triggers a wave of new research. Scientists start looking for other pods, analyzing their behavior, trying to understand the social structure of these creatures. They find that pods are common. Most Leviathan Medusas travel in groups of 3-12 individuals. The groups are stable. The same individuals stay together over months of observation. They coordinate movements, share bioluminescent signals, hunt cooperatively. Some pods appear to have territories. They patrol specific areas of ocean, defending them from other pods. Territorial disputes are observed, 2 pods approaching the same feeding ground, displaying aggressive bioluminescent patterns, eventually one pod backing down. Dr. Chen identifies what might be a dominance hierarchy within pods. One individual, usually the largest, appears to lead. Its bioluminescent signals are copied by other pod members. It initiates hunting behaviors. It determines migration routes. We're seeing social complexity comparable to marine mammals, Chen writes. These creatures are not simple invertebrates. They're sophisticated social predators with communication, cooperation, and possibly even culture. The implications are profound. If Leviathan Medusas have culture, learned behaviors pass between individuals, then they're capable of cumulative learning. They can develop new hunting strategies, new migration routes, new survival techniques, and pass them to other pod members and to offspring. This means the species can adapt and evolve behaviorally far faster than through genetic evolution alone. They can respond to changing conditions, learn from experience, improve their collective success. They're not just surviving in the deep ocean, they're thriving, and they're getting better at it. In December 2025, something happens that crystallizes public concern about the Leviathan Medusas. A tourist submarine operating off the Bahamas encounters a Leviathan Medusa at 2,500 feet depth. The submarine, carrying 12 passengers on a deep-sea tour, passes within 50 meters of the creature. The jellyfish responds to the submarine's lights. It moves toward the vessel, extends its tentacles. The tentacles brush against the submarine's hull. No damage. The submarine is designed for this kind of encounter, but the passengers are terrified. The jellyfish maintains contact for approximately 3 minutes, its tentacles wrapped around the submarine, its bell pulsing, its bioluminescence creating an eerie light show around the vessel. Then it releases the submarine and moves away. Nobody is injured. The submarine returns safely, but the incident is captured on video and goes viral. The footage shows the massive creature engulfing the small submarine, tentacles writhing, a leviathan from the deep examining human explorers in its territory. The incident sparks debate. Are the Leviathan Medusas dangerous to humans? Should deep-sea tourism be regulated to avoid encounters? What would happen if a submarine's hull was breached by tentacles, or if the creature became aggressive? Marine biologists try to calm fears. The jellyfish was investigating, not attacking. It released the submarine unharmed. There's no evidence these creatures are hostile to humans. But the public perception shifts. The Leviathan Medusa, previously seen as a magnificent discovery, starts being viewed as a potential threat, a massive predator from the deep that we don't understand and can't control. As 2025 ends and 2026 begins, researchers working on Leviathan Medusa studies face a frustrating reality. The more they learn, the more questions they have. They know the creatures exist globally in the ocean's twilight zone. They know the population is likely growing. They know the jellyfish are larger, more intelligent, and more social than any previous jellyfish species. But they don't know how long the species has existed. Genetic analysis is ongoing but inconclusive. Why they were never discovered before? Unlikely, they recently evolved. More likely, we just never looked in the right places. What their maximum size might be. The largest confirmed specimen is 18 meters in diameter, but could they grow larger? How long they live. No specimens have been tracked long enough to determine lifespan. What the full extent of their intelligence might be. Each study reveals more sophisticated behavior. Whether the population growth will stabilize or continue exponentially. How their expansion will affect deep ocean ecosystems. Whether climate change will continue benefiting them or eventually become problematic. These unknowns are concerning to scientists but fascinating to the public. The Leviathan Medusa has become a symbol of how little we know about the ocean, how much remains undiscovered, how the deep sea might contain wonders and terrors we've never imagined. Dr. Ruiz, now recognized as the leading expert on Leviathan Medusas, reflects on the year since the discovery in an interview for Nature. When we first saw that sonar image, I thought it was a malfunction. When we got video, I thought it must be a unique aberration, one impossibly large jellyfish. I never imagined we'd discover an entire species, thousands of individuals, spread across the global ocean. What we've learned is humbling. These creatures have been here all along, hunting in the twilight zone, growing to enormous sizes, developing complex social behaviors, living lives completely unknown to us. And they were hidden, not because they're rare or small or hard to detect. They're bus-sized glowing creatures. They were hidden simply because the ocean is vast and we hadn't looked. It makes me wonder what else is down there. What else is living in the deep ocean that we haven't discovered yet? If something this large can remain hidden, what else might be waiting to be found? It's a good question, and in February 2026, it gets a partial answer. A research team exploring the Puerto Rico Trench, one of the deepest parts of the Atlantic Ocean, deploys a new type of autonomous submersible equipped with advanced imaging technology. At 6,500 feet depth, far deeper than any previous Leviathan Medusa sighting, the submersible detects multiple large organic signatures. When the footage is recovered and analyzed, it shows something extraordinary: juvenile Leviathan Medusas, dozens of them, small ones only 2–3 meters in diameter, clustered together in what appears to be a nursery. This discovery revolutionizes understanding of the species' life cycle. The giant adults at 3,000 feet are mature individuals, but they reproduce in the deep trenches at 6,000 plus feet, where the young grow in protected nurseries before ascending to shallower depths. This explains why juveniles had never been observed. Researchers were looking at the wrong depths. The nurseries are in some of the least explored parts of the ocean. But it also reveals something concerning. The nursery observed in the Puerto Rico Trench contains an estimated 2,300 juveniles. If each of those grows to adulthood and reproduces at the rates observed for mature individuals, the population growth projections need to be revised upward. Significantly upward. As of March 2026, 16 months after the initial discovery, the Leviathan Medusa has transformed from unknown species to major research focus to genuine concern for ocean ecosystem management. The population is definitely growing. Conservative estimates suggest there are now 50,750 individuals worldwide. More optimistic estimates put the number at over 100,000. Their ecological impact is becoming measurable. Fish populations in the mesopelagic zone are declining in areas with high Leviathan Medusa density. Some prey species are showing behavioral changes, altered migration patterns, deeper habitat selection, apparently in response to predation pressure. The question is no longer, what are these creatures, but what do we do about them? Some nations propose protecting the Leviathan Medusa as an endangered species, though there's no evidence they're endangered. Others want to classify them as invasive, though they're not invading, they've always been there. Still others want to develop management strategies to control population growth, though no one knows how to manage a species living in international waters at 3,000 feet depth. The debates continue. The research continues. The Leviathan Medusas continue their slow, pulsing migration through the twilight zone, indifferent to human concern about their existence. Dr. Ruiz is planning another expedition. The Austral Explorer will return to the original discovery site in November 2026, 2 years after the initial sighting. She wants to see how the population has changed, how the pods have evolved, how the ecosystem is adapting. But she's also hoping to answer a deeper question. What are the Leviathan Medusas? Are they simply large jellyfish that happen to have sophisticated behaviors? Or are they something more, a genuinely intelligent species that we've only just begun to understand? The evidence points toward intelligence, the coordinated hunting, the communication networks, the social structures, the apparent memory and learning, the attempts to communicate with robots. But intelligence in jellyfish contradicts everything we know about how intelligence evolves. Intelligence requires neural complexity. Jellyfish have nerve nets, not brains. They shouldn't be capable of sophisticated cognition. Yet they are. Maybe our understanding of intelligence is too limited. Maybe intelligence can evolve in forms we don't recognize. Maybe the Leviathan Medusa represents an entirely different pathway to cognitive complexity, one based on distributed neural processing across a massive body with symbiotic ecosystems providing feedback and information. Or maybe we're anthropomorphizing, projecting intelligence onto sophisticated but ultimately automatic behaviors, seeing patterns that aren't really there. Ruiz doesn't know, but she's going to keep looking, keep studying, keep trying to understand these magnificent, mysterious creatures that emerged from the deep ocean to remind us how little we truly know about the world we live in. The Leviathan Medusa exists. We've confirmed that. We've studied it. We've learned incredible things about its biology, behavior, and ecology. But in many ways, it remains as mysterious as the day it was discovered. A bus-sized jellyfish shouldn't be able to exist, yet thousands of them pulse through the deep ocean. Jellyfish shouldn't be able to farm their own food, yet the Leviathan Medusa hosts internal ecosystems that feed it. Simple organisms shouldn't hunt cooperatively or communicate across hundreds of miles, yet the Leviathan Medusas do. Everything about this species challenges our assumptions about size limits, about symbiosis, about intelligence, about what we think we know about the ocean. And perhaps that's the real significance of the discovery. Not just that we found a new species, but that the new species forces us to question everything we thought we understood. The ocean is deeper than we've explored, stranger than we've imagined, full of wonders and mysteries we're only beginning to glimpse. The Leviathan Medusa is proof of that. Somewhere in the twilight zone, right now, pods of giant jellyfish are hunting, communicating, living lives of complexity we're still trying to comprehend. They were here before we found them. They'll be here after we're gone. Silent, glowing, massive. Leviathans of the deep, waiting in the dark water, reminding us that the ocean still holds secrets. And some of those secrets are bigger than we ever imagined.